Good morning and welcome to GKBA. Today, the Greater Kendall Business Association is very happy to be here. We always thank Community News for giving us this platform. What we do on this show, this is a pretty much a new show, is we feature a member, and sometimes the member will bring a guest who I like to say will be a future member. Anyway, today's topic is very interesting, especially if you have accepted credit cards for payment between the years of 2004 and 2019. So if you've been in business and taking credit cards anytime during that period, there may be something for you. And it probably is a surprise because a lot of merchants that I speak with out there are not aware of this. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our guests. Elio first. Elio, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
My name is Elio Nurieli of Macmoor Capital and VmcRefunds.com. Carlos, thank you for having me. And I'd like to thank Mike Sutta here from SuperSwipe for inviting me here today. Pleasure. Thank you both.
Mike, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Sutta with SuperSwipe Payment Solutions. For the past 25 years, we've been helping small businesses in South Miami with their payment processing needs.
Excellent. So before we get started on this topic, which is incredibly interesting, I just want to get to know you and have the audience get to know you a little bit on the personal side. Just the typical stuff, where you're from, what your career has been like, what you've been doing before you started, or because you're the CEO of Macmoor, correct?
These days, yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I'm from New York.
Okay.
Moved to Miami 5 years ago, roughly 5 years ago. Now we live up in Boca.
Okay.
Very happy here.
Okay.
My background is actually...
Especially in the winter, I would imagine.
Oh, you would imagine is right. My background has always been in entrepreneurship. I invest in real estate. Before I moved here and did this full time, which I'll explain in a moment what that is, I was in the hospitality and restaurant industry where I outfitted restaurants, hotels, bars, and clubs with the equipment and supplies that went into them. So I had a lot of connections there. That actually led me into what I'm doing today, which is helping businesses with recovering funds through class action settlements, which they probably wouldn't otherwise know about unless I would, bring it to their attention. And that's what we do as a business. I started doing this about 15 years ago, but not as a CEO, just as my friend Anthony in New York started a business just like this. He's one of the pioneers of this industry. Okay. They realized that there was a big opportunity there to help businesses and corporations find monies that are owed to them through class action settlements. And as I said, that they typically would probably not know about, or perhaps never pursue, thinking it's not worth anything, right?
Okay.
Being that I was in hospitality, he brought me on board to help sign up the hotels and the restaurants, because there was actually it's when this VMC settlement started. It was actually around 2010. It's been in the courts for a very long time.
Okay.
So he saw what I was able to do and how, what I was able to produce, and all my clients signing up and all this other stuff, that it went well, but I couldn't give up my business at the time of what I was doing in New York. When I decided to move to Florida, I decided that we would open up our own shop. He's my partner now to some extent. And we opened up our own shop here called the Macmoor Capital. That's what we started doing. We worked on other types of settlements as well, but it's 99% class action settlements. So what we're working on these days, and why we're here, is to introduce the payment card settlement, is actually the technical name for it.
Okay.
It's where about any business, as you stated, anytime between 2004 and 2019. If that business, corporation, what have you, accepted Visa and or MasterCard branded cards at any time, they're owed back a refund, a portion of the interchange fees, which is the swiping fee, if you will, that they would have paid to Visa, MasterCard.
Okay.
Because allegedly, Visa and MasterCard were overcharging for those fees by a non-compete, which is an antitrust law, went to court, and were forced to basically pay $5.5 billion.
So just so I get this straight, Visa and MasterCard compete with each other, and they allegedly colluded to keep those prices high.
Along with about a dozen banks.
Okay.
Barclays, Citigroup, Bank of America, and a handful of others. So collectively, they put up $5.5 billion, which sounds like a large sum of money, but at the end of the day, Visa, MasterCard, and all those banks, what really is $5.5 billion?
Drop in the bucket.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Very interesting. Mike, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm born and raised here in Miami, Florida. Good 50,
Rare breed.
53 years, going strong. So, I got in the industry about 25 years ago. Been helping small business merchants in that process. I got introduced to this program this past April by accident through another friend, a mutual friend. And I was just floored. I was like, what? You got to be kidding me. You know, an opportunity for small business merchants here in Miami, there's hundreds and hundreds. So because of the people I knew, I mean, I'm talking 25 years, past clients that I never even had before, just associated with, walked in the door, hey, I have your money. Would you like it? And, you know, they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. So it was pretty eye-opening here in Miami to find out, you know, so many of the small businesses that didn't know anything about what was going on. Even to my unawareness, bringing them aware, and then it's a domino effect. It's taken me to the Florida Keys. It's taken me over to Fort Myers, Sanibel Island. I just recently got back from Gainesville and Tampa area, and it's amazing to me that how many people haven't heard of this, and then the ones that have, oh, I think I saw something like that. Isn't this a scam? So that's where I come back to my grassroots, and I'm going, hey, I need you to help me talk to these other small merchants that don't know who I am, but you do, and I need your referral to let them know what's going on. And it may be a big piece, it may be a small piece, but I'm talking everywhere from your small shoe store to your big motorcycle shops here in South Florida. So,
yeah. So it's been my experience, Elio, that, you know, I've seen stuff in the mail, class action settlement or class action suit, and I'll be honest with you, you know, I see that paper, which, you know, it's it's not even an envelope. It's one of those things
Correct.
you just tear open, and I toss it. I mean, you know, what am I going to get? $5, $10 from this? So is this how they're getting the word out? Is there something else I'm not going to get into editorial and say that they should be doing, but is this all that's required of them?
So it is a requirement.
Okay.
The court will mandate what needs to be mailed out, what needs to be done, and of course, beyond that, they're not going to do much. That's where the third parties, as us, come in, right? And we are putting out the word. Obviously, we're incentivized to do so. We're going to help folks get their funds, and we're going to take only a commission at the end. That's how we make money. But we're the ones that are aggressively calling, putting it out there, doing advertisements, doing podcasts, doing whatever, what have you, right? But to answer the question of tossing it out and that sort of thing,
Right.
you know, there is a stigma that comes along with class action settlements when it's a consumer-based class action settlements. Now, mind you, there are consumer-based settlements that could bring you $2,000, $3,000. If, let's say, there was one not too long ago which had to do with Mercedes-Benz. There were certain parts in there. So you, as a customer who may have purchased a Benz between this year and this year, are owed $2,000, $3,000. So it's very much worth doing. But you're right. 90% of the time, you're going to fill out a document. You're going to do whatever, you know, diligence, and then you end up with 50 cents or $1 or $10. Nobody wants to be bothered.
Right.
Now, that is carried into the corporate world, unfortunately, because do you see the same thing? You see a class action settlement. The envelope looks the same. The advertisement looks the same. You're going to treat it as such, and you're going to toss it away. Or you're going to put it on the back of your desk and say, later, and I'll get to it, and you never do. Right. That's where we come in, and we have to explain that it's a significant amount of money that's owed back to these customers because it's to their corporation or their business or their chain of stores or their franchises or what have you. It's a completely different world, and that's what people do not understand.
So, Mike, how does the conversation go when you go into a merchant? I don't know, maybe they've received that notification or not, and you're telling them about this whole class action settlement. What kind of, do you get objections? Is everybody open to it, or how does that work?
Yeah, more of on 70-30. You'll have 70% of the small business merchants get out of my shop. That's a familiar one.
And these are your customers?
No.
Okay.
Usually it's I don't have time.
Okay.
What is this about? And when you get into the nitty gritty of it, in the first 60 seconds, I try and basically tell them, I have your money. I just need you to claim it. And that basically opens up the door for a 10-minute conversation. And then I'm able to, they're able to understand where I'm coming from as a small business merchant provider. Even though they're not my client, I'm servicing clients around them, and I have the opportunity to come and talk to you for a few minutes to let you know about it. And after that conversation, it's like, thank you for coming in. Can I have some extra of these one-page forms to send to my other business associates so that they can get involved in this? And they've sent it around the country. So I've been receiving some from other states. So that's the open part of it. The objections are usually, how much am I going to get?
Right.
How long do I have to do this? By the way, you have 21 days. There's a little ticker going off on the.
Is that what that ticker is?
That ticker is counting down to the time that you have to get your claim involved. So whether they email me, they call me. Usually, I was at a restaurant yesterday that's been in Miami for a very long time, over 35 years, and I had called him, one of the first people that I called, and he was like, come to my restaurant. I need to see you face to face. And we sat there for 5-10 minutes, and he was like, okay, gave me his signature on the one pager. And this morning he's calling me, so when do I get paid? So
is that the next question? That's
usually the next bombardment that I'll get. But a lot of it now is following up with these merchants. Hey, I sent you an email. Maybe it got in their spam. Resend it again. I'm sending it to their personal cell phones now. Why do you keep calling me? Why do you keep leaving me messages? And I'm like, I have about $30,000 or more of your money. Would you like it? And when I get into the nitty gritty of it, they're like, wow, I'm just so happy you came in. Can you go see my other friend? And I go, sure. Can you let them know I'm coming? And then, so I'm not waiting out in the waiting room for 10-15 minutes. And then, who's this guy? And usually I'm always looking for new business. So originally I got into this to like find new clients, but originally I have enough clients to take care of, the little ones that I want, but I want the bigger clients as well. And I'm finding out that these bigger clients are just as vulnerable as these smaller clients. And it's the same pushback. It's nothing different from a smaller to the bigger ones, but I have more time with the smaller ones to communicate. With the bigger ones, they usually want you to, let's do a conference call.
Right.
And it's more time consuming. And being that we only have 21 days left, time is gold right now.
Sure.
So, and that's where being on the phone from about 9 o'clock till about 7:30 at night, calling people, reminding them, oh yeah, I forgot, send me that email again. I have a dry cleaning store. The guy is good-hearted. His parents own them. 4 locations, but it's been 4 months I've been chasing him to get a one-page signature, because that's all it is. It's 5 questions. The EIN number, and he actually had businesses that the parents had sold. So not only if you have a current business that is eligible from 2004,
so it's a business you don't have.
You might have sold the business,
okay,
but you still retain the EIN number, so you're still eligible for the settlement. So if you sold it, you shut it down, it's still in current business running, you're eligible. So
when they sign, what exactly are they signing? What I imagine. Well, I'm not going to speculate. What is it they're signing, Elio? That one pager.
The greatest importance of that document is stating that they're allowing us
to
file a claim or submit and claim and retrieve data on their behalf. Okay, so when the claims administrator sees it, what they need to see is something stating that company X has allowed me to pursue this claim on their behalf. When I say submit versus claim, it's a little bit different because what we do is, see, if you were to do this yourself.
I was just going to ask that question.
Yeah, well, here we go. If you were to do this yourself, okay, and you had one shop, call it what you will.
Right.
What you're doing is basically you get this form. It might be populated with some numbers of volume and interchange fees paid over the years, or it may just have access through it because the data is not there yet. But whatever it is, you're signing it, you're sending it in, you're basically putting dust in the wind, hoping that one day you'll receive a check on some level, right? No harm in signing it. That's really not the way to go because you don't know what you're agreeing to, because you don't really know what the data is. If it's not populated there, you don't know what it is. If there's something missing, if there's a deficiency, you may miss the next correspondence and not answer that deficiency. In other words, you're missing a digit. They didn't find anything. They found one merchant ID, but not the other. Whatever it is, you may have more than one location. They only have data on one location, not the other or the next. So then what happens is if you don't answer that deficiency by whatever time they gave you to do so, you're just not going to get paid on that deal. Right?
Okay.
So in your mind, you're thinking, all right, worst case scenario, I don't get paid. But that's not a way to go about anything, right?
Because it's more than $10, right?
Right.
Most likely.
That's why we're here.
Okay.
Right. So what happens is what we do is we submit a claim on your behalf. Right. I monitor it, and hopefully within a number of days, possibly a week or two at the most, I will get data back showing your volume, which is your Visa MasterCard activity, along with interchange fees paid over that time. Right? We have already asked you what your estimated number is in your mind for the past 15 years, from 04 to 2019. And if it doesn't match more or less, I'll go back to you and say, hey, something's not right here. I'll request more data. I'll get all the merchant IDs that they have listed, and we'll try to find one that's missing. More times than not, that's the issue. It's fixed, and you may get double, triple, or from zero, which they had, to whatever it is, $5,000, $10,000 that you're going to receive back. That's what we do.
So we're talking significant amounts.
We are talking significant amounts. And when people ask, when business owners ask me, well, what do you, like I told you, when they ask me what is significant, the answer to that is it's proportionate as to what size business you're in.
Right.
If you're a mom and pop business and you're only doing, a small amount of Visa MasterCard, then you may get back $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, which is significant to that side business.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you're talking to a Fortune 500 company, it's not going to be $4,000 or $5,000. It may be $400,000 or $500,000,
right?
Or maybe $1 million. Significant to them. So it's each tier. It really depends on what you're looking at. But it is a significant amount of money. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't have a job. Right.
So going back to kind of the origins of this whole thing, how does it work that Visa, MasterCard, and those banks dumped a whole lot of money into sort of an escrow account? What's I start to be a little skeptical about that. Why are they doing this and not challenging it, right? Or how does that work?
Well, they do challenge it.
Okay.
And that's why it's a settlement.
Okay.
Because again, they allegedly did something. They say they did something. Whether they have some proof of it or not is really irrelevant. They'll go to court. They'll go back and forth. They know what this is all about. It's a big business, right? It's sort of like, how can I explain this to you? It's sort of like the European countries when they smack a fine on Facebook for doing, or Apple, for whatever they see fit. It's a moneymaker, right? They know what's going to happen. They're going to, Apple or Facebook or one of these giants is going to say, all right, it's less expensive and let's keep this under the radar and let's just get rid of this. How much do you want? There'll be some conversations behind closed doors. Take this check and it goes away and it doesn't become big news anymore, right? So in this instance, it's basically, and this has happened before with Visa and MasterCard precisely, not exactly the same class action alleged lawsuit, but very, very similar to it in the early 2000s.
For the same thing? For the...
Basically the same thing. It's more intricate than I care to explain now, but it's basically the same idea. Okay.
So they've already had their hands slapped and they're coming back.
So if you're a company, and again, I'm not saying that this is the scenario or the case per se, but if you're a company and you can take $20 billion from here, knowing that if someone complains about it, it might cost you $5 billion to pay back. What do?
Yeah.
You keep doing what you're doing, because that's just the way business works. Like it or not, that's the truth. They're not stealing money from anyone.
Right.
You know, they may get together and have a non-compete, or they may have, you know, violate antitrust laws in that way, which is technically borderline illegal. But again, they're just being accused of it. And then they settle by paying a certain degree of money. And that's where it ends. So now everybody's going to get back a certain percentage of those interchange fees. Mind you, there's 18 plus million potential claimants here. Okay, they're not all going to claim. They're not all even around anymore, right? We're talking about something that goes back from now 2 decades,
right?
From 04 to 2019. So it's January to January. It's exactly a 15-year period. Most businesses, half of them are probably not even around anymore. Granted, during that time, others have opened, but still, there's a lot that are not there anymore, or that have moved. They're not going to see a claim form. There's tons of reasons why business owners are just not going to come forth and, you know, claim their funds. It's our job to get out there and gather as many as we can and help them recover the maximum amount that's owed to them.
So getting out there, me being a marketing guy, I have to ask, besides, you know, having super salespeople like Mike Sutta on your team that helps get the word out, obviously, you know, he's doing it one by one. What else are you doing to get the word out?
So we call.
Okay.
We do call. We cold call. We have leads. We email. We market. We send out, you know, hard copies as much as we can. That gets very expensive, and you can understand how they'll just end up in the trash too. So we do what we can. It's word of mouth. We also do partner, and let me tell you, Mike's one of the best, if not top notch. Absolutely, well deserved. We have others, such as Mike, that we partnered up with, because you got to think of it as, how are you going to reach all these?
Yeah.
You're not, right? There are millions of them. How are you going to reach them?
Yeah.
So you got to partner up either with credit card merchant processors, which is probably your best bet, because they have the book of business and they have a warm lead, or if not even a hot lead. Because if they get an email from me, chances are they'll skip over it. The open rate is obviously very low.
Right.
They get an email from Mike saying, I need your attention here. There's something here for you. That is a win-win for everyone, because now they're going to open it. Chances are they're going to follow through. And just as important, if not more important, for Mike's benefit, or any merchant processor that is, they're actually bringing another service to their client that otherwise they would not have known about.
Right.
And tell me how far that goes as far as, you know, keeping customer relations hot. And not only that, even if he has lists for potential clients that are really not under his belt yet, not yet his clients, if he goes and brings this to their attention and helps them recover some money, now they love the guy.
That's a great foot in the door, huh?
Yeah.
Now they love him.
Have you, at this point, Mike, obtained any new clients just by going in there and sharing the one pager with them?
Yeah.
You have? Okay.
A couple.
Okay, good.
Very beneficial.
Good. I kind of knew the answer to that question.
Yeah, and it works both ways. As I accumulate more clientele, and you know, once this thing subsides a little bit and I have more time, if I can help him gain more clients through my list, then so be it. I will, you know, we're here to help one another, right?
Right.
It's what it's all about.
So when is the deadline?
August 30th.
August 30th. So after that?
Well, here's the thing. The deadline originally was May 31st.
Okay.
Everybody was in the camp that it was going to be extended only because of the sheer size of the class here, and that the participation rate would be very low.
Yeah.
They asked for a 3-month extension, and
When you say they, who is they?
the claims administrator.
Okay.
So the claims administrator is the one that it's class administrator, claims administrator.
And is
They're
this
the ones.
a government person? Is this a...
No.
No, okay.
No, so they're hired, right, to oversee this entire case and make sure the funds are distributed amongst the class as they should be, to dot the I's, cross the T's, and do their job. They requested a 3-month extension, and it was granted.
Okay.
So that puts us in August 30th. And mind you, August 30th is a Friday. That's why it's 30th and not the 31st. Is that correct?
Yep.
Right? Yep. Okay. So now the question is there going to be a secondary extension? In our world, typically not, because it's sort of You're making a mockery. You asked the court
Yeah.
for something, you should stick to it. If
Right.
you needed more time, you should have asked for it back then, not now. There's only 20 days left, right? I think we would have known by now. However, with that said, this case is like no other just because of the sheer size and the participation rate and the millions upon millions of potential claimants. So the answer is I can't say for sure. I don't want to say no because we might find out any day now that, hey,
Yeah. In your
Here's another
experience, let's say
extension.
there is no further extension. In your experience, when do things start to happen? You know, when do checks start to go out?
typically speaking, it's a number of months that there'll be a deficiency period, which we get as a third party also, if in case something's missing.
What does that mean?
That means that things are missing, right? So I
Okay.
file a claim on your behalf, and suddenly the claims administrator says, wait a second, something doesn't match. Something's
Okay.
wrong. Or we just don't have X, Y, or Z.
Got it.
I got to furnish that. So they got to give us, usually it's a 30-day deficiency period. It could be a 60-day deficiency period to let us produce anything that's missing so that we're fair to our clients and they get what they need. Because they did file the claim, it just turns out something was missing, right? But on a case like this, and again, this is unprecedented. There's never been a case this large, both money-wise and pool of participants-wise, right? The class itself is humongous, 18 million plus, right?
Are already participating or
No,
eligible?
Eligible.
Okay.
Eligible to claim.
Okay.
So if we see 50% here, to be honest, that would be high.
That's a good thing.
That would be a good thing.
That's a good thing. Okay.
You know, and people think that's unheard of. It's not. In class actions, I would say that, in my opinion, again, don't quote me on this, but in my opinion, I think it's about 30% participation rate is very reasonable.
Okay.
Okay, because like you said, people are just tossing it out.
Yeah.
It's not paying attention to it. They're not around anymore, whatever their reasons are. So I'm going to say roughly a year
Okay.
to get it paid. I think that would be ideal.
Okay.
To put it mildly.
That's kind of like a best case scenario.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Because again, if they wrap this up, let's say August 30th, then they start with their processing. There's still going to be some conflicts out there. Conflicts, I'll explain to you what they are. Just like there are deficiencies, there are conflicts, and there's a number of them. Because what happens here, this case, especially in this case, has been going on for so long that you might have signed with me in 2019 or 2020. And now you get a claim form. You don't realize it's the same thing.
Okay.
Or you did it with me, and now your partner, your CFO, your CEO, or someone else in the same company says, hey, let me try this, and signs it. As soon as that happens, now you get a duplicate submission.
There's a conflict.
It goes into conflict. So we get an email saying, hey, this is in conflict. Who's going to proceed, you or party number B? So we got to resolve that. We got to let them know via email. It's a whole to-do.
Got it.
So that is also something that we're going to probably have time to do in the aftermath, because nobody's going to be able to solve these conflicts by,
Yeah.
So everything's going to be okay. There'll be an extension to a deficiency and a conflict, and then they got to process it all.
Right.
And then there's a special master involved in these cases. The special master is always hired to resolve conflicts that haven't been resolved on their own. So if there's a conflict out there that I couldn't resolve, I signed with you, you're not answering your phone anymore, but you signed with 2 other companies, and there's 3, it's not unheard of that there's 2 or 3, possibly even 4 other third parties involved in the same conflict. So maybe it boils down to who signed this client first. Did the client have any reason to sign with this one instead of that one? Do they have a relationship? So the special master will go and look at these, but imagine doing that a million times. Right?
Hopefully it's automated.
So, but that's something that we do. That's the beauty of
Got
it.
it.
People say, I don't know, I don't have the time, I don't want to get involved, I don't want to do this. Who wants another, job to do? All of that is alleviated. You sign an
Right.
agreement. My team, Mike, we take care of everything. So you have nothing to worry about.
So when a merchant has gone through the process and 6 months down the road asks, where's my money? Who do they ask? Do they ask Mike? Can they contact you?
They'll
directly?
contact us.
Okay.
And that's another thing that we offer, which is very, very soothing to our clients, because, once they do move forward with this and they try and get an answer directly by themselves, good luck. They'll get an answer, but it'll be generic in scope.
Right.
Hey, when is this paying out? Please be patient. We will let you know.
Right.
That doesn't tell you anything.
Right.
And that's if you get that answer, right?
Right.
Which give them credit due. They'll probably answer. But again, that's the answer you're going to get. What are they going to do? Answer every single person of the 3 million, 5 million that are going to ask the same question and send them an individual email back? That's not going to happen. But us, it's a different story because we're behind the scenes a little bit. We understand how these things work,
right,
how they play out. And we also know that if one of our clients got a notification in regards to anything, that means that everyone did. So we'll send out an email blast notifying everyone.
Got it.
And plus, my clients have my number. They got my cell phone, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm hands-on. Mike knows. It takes day and night. It is what it is. Listen, we're working with a deadline. This is not something that's forever.
Yeah.
So if I got to give it my all, that's what I do.
All right. So we're out of time. Mike, why don't you take us home? I know you've got an important last message for everybody.
I love to tell all my first-time clients when I meet them to sign them up for the settlement, I have access to your money, and I have it right here. Uh-oh. I make it rain.
There you go. There you go.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in to GKBA today.
Fantastic.
And we will see you soon.